Our talk this morning is titled, Who Are You? Well, we've heard a lot about that already here today, and we're going to talk about it a little bit more. So, of course, as we always say, who are you is God in form, and who are you is all about the nature of God, the nature of abundance, the nature of love, of beauty, of peace, and of joy. That being said, we're going to take the day in a couple new directions, so let's start it off.
So who are you? Is that an age-old question? I don't know, are you age-old? Well, are you? Really? Think about it.
Perhaps.
What if learning to live your life is all about perspective? Looking at yourself as you truly are, rather than who you believe you are, or what other people have told you are, or what society around you has told you are. What if it's a matter of looking at yourself from a different point of view and realizing the truth of you? What if your vision of self in human form is an illusion, carefully crafted by you and others, based on your physical but not eternal parameters? Now, I'm not talking about the illusion that they talk about in Course in Miracles, or the imperialistic worldview that all form is an illusion. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the idea that sometimes we don't see ourselves accurately because our thoughts about who we are skewed by how we find ourselves in this physical experience. What if we have each conditioned ourselves to accept a personal reality that is less than infinite and eternal? Because that's the truth of what we really are, infinite and eternal beings having a human experience. Ernest Holmes says, "We are not limited by actual boundaries, but by false ideas about life and about failure to recognize that we are dealing with the infinite. Limitation is an experience of the race. It is not the fault of God, but the fault of man's perception." Powerful statement, isn't it? We are each God expressing beautifully and perfectly through us into the world around us. We are a conduit of God energy into the world. How often do you see your inherent perfection playing out into your environment? Life does not come to us. Life comes through us into our environment. It does not come from our environment to us. It comes through us into our environment. Life flows through us into the environment, and we experience the result of what has manifested from, through, and as us. It's kind of like chasing our own tails, wondering who I am and where I am, and then realizing that I am one with everything that I see. And so therefore, it's like the fish in the ocean looking for the ocean. We are part of all that is. It's like we're chasing our own tails in a way, looking for our reality. I heard some great quotes this week. I read some great things this week, and I want to share them with you. And the first one was, "Me yelling at a squirrel to get out of the road so it's not squished by a car is probably the same feeling my spirit guide has watching me live my life." Did you ever yell at a squirrel? You ever watch those things? They go 12 directions at the same time. It's amazing. And it's quite often do we. If I'm constantly shifting direction and focus, bumping into walls and tripping over obstacles, I have to remember that according to infinite law, there is no right way. There is no limitation in my life except within my own consciousness. There's no right way for my life to go except in my own consciousness. That doesn't necessarily mean that we're going with the flow always and having everything around us determine what is ours to do. It's deciding what is ours to do by listening to that little voice within and just knowing. There's another great quote. "In reality, there's only now. If you know how to handle this moment, you know how to handle eternity." I thought that was pretty profound, but I think actually we're probably better equipped naturally to handle eternity, because that is our truer nature. That is who we are. We are infinite eternal beings. Form and substance are simply snapshots of infinite eternal principle. And we can choose to live in the snapshots or enter into the larger life, as Ernest Holmes calls it. The more perfect essence of who we are, the God essence of who we are. Ernest Holmes says, identify yourself with the one in everyone you meet. Know that everyone you meet is just a little different expression of the one. And meet them as the one, and you will meet yourself in that one. Once again, a pretty profound statement, isn't it? So who are you? You are everything that you see. You are everything that you experience. You are everything in your environment, because more than likely you are actually creating it through your thought processes and then stepping into it. So learn how to find God in every single thing you see, hear, touch, smell, taste. In so doing, you will learn more and more about your true self. You will see the face of God everywhere you look and recognize it as a reflection of yourself, the God that is projected through you. Stephen Covey says, live out your imagination, not your history. That's a very powerful statement. Live your imagination, not your history. The past is gone. Your imagination creates a new, eternal, possible life. There's another great quote by somebody anonymous. It says, make sure your worst enemy is not living between your own two ears. I stumble over that one quite often. Making sure that I am not the one that's holding me back from my greater possibilities, from the greater life. What you think about, you bring about, and the image or the personality of who you are is a byproduct of those very thoughts. So who are you? Do you like who you are? Do you see yourself as something greater than that? I would hope you would, because that's what you are. Something greater than what you quite often think you are. Hafiz says, and I realized as I was reading this a little bit earlier, every time I say Hafiz says, you should go, ah. Or every time I say Rumi says, you go, ooh. But Hafiz says, one day the sun admitted, I am just a shadow. I wish I could show you the infinite incandescence that has cast my brilliant image. I wish I could show you, when you are lonely or in darkness, the astonishing light of your own being. There is more to you than what is reflected back to you in the mirror. There is greater possibility, there's greater truth. You are God in expression. And that's the truth.
I love it. Thank you. And we all accept it now, right? Absolutely. I love how David said that idea of age old, because there's a science book that I share with my students, and the very first page it says it's all about water, and it says you drink the same water as the dinosaurs did. And of course the kids don't go, ah, ooh, they go, ooh. And then we learn about the water cycle. So who are you? David touched on this a little bit, identifying limiting beliefs within us. Identifying those limiting beliefs about ourselves helps us to remove, replace, rethink them to see through to our divine nature. Our natural state of being is that divine nature, that place where we realize God within, where we realize that we already are all the good. There's nothing we need to fix or change, and at the same time we can rethink the direction that we're headed and attract differently. There's a story about a man who took a walk, and he went past a circus on his walk, and he saw an open tent of elephants. And when he looked closer, he noticed that the elephants were not in cages and they were not chained. And so he looked a little closer, and he was very surprised to see that there was just a thin rope tied around one foot, and it was attached to a short stake that was placed into the ground. And it confused him a little bit as to why the elephants didn't take off, why they didn't go to free themselves and break free. And so he noticed a gentleman that was there that appeared to be their trainer, so he asked them, and this is what the trainer said. As baby elephants, we use the same system, but at that age, the rope is strong enough to stop them from running free. They grow up like this, believing they can never break the rope, so even as adults, they stay free. They stay put, sorry. Are you staying put somewhere? Or are you free? Are you experiencing all the freedom that you so definitely deserve and are heir to? In other words, these powerful, magnificent, and intelligent animals, elephants, didn't believe they could free themselves. They didn't even see it as a possibility. So they never tried. Are there any limiting beliefs in your mind that are keeping you from setting yourself free, keeping you from your good? Our personal beliefs about ourselves are powerful beyond measure, and they dictate our outcomes. They can work for us, or they can work against us. I thought it was fascinating that what Wayne shared today, and how much I'm noticing that as we freed up everyone to read the Science of Mind reading that spoke to them, we are all in sync so clearly, so perfectly. And likewise, Megan's sharing of the connectivity of life's flow. And did you notice that while she told us about breaking her pelvis, she never told us the story in a negative way? She put herself on that higher path and looked for the good. So let's talk for just a moment about what we are not. We are not our situations. We are not our experiences. We are not the stuff we accumulate. And we are not our learned behaviors. Are they a part of us? Absolutely, because everything is. It's just too easy for us to identify with situations that we find ourselves in, with our experiences in life. And if those are all of the nature of God, then hallelujah, keep doing it. But if you're identifying with something that feels like it's on lesser ground, then step into a new idea of it. Because when we identify with our experiences and then attach them to our emotions, we make them even stronger. Our experiences are for us to look at, to learn from, to grow from. They're for us to have fun and to feel, to open up and to allow the universe enjoyable moments through us. And we can do that in a multitude of ways. And as Wayne said near the end, we each get to choose. So a couple weeks ago, we started the truck story. And I know some of you asked David, so you've already heard some of the, I don't think it's over yet, but anyway, the whole story. But if you weren't here, I don't know, was there anyone not here? I think everyone was. You weren't here when we talked about the truck, the new truck?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes, okay. Yes, the
second.
first one, right. I'm going to share the second one. So the first one was getting the new truck and how it was everything that David wanted and more, attracting abundance, still not the experience, that he is not that experience, but he is the attractor. He is the nature of abundance, attracting like that. And likewise, we also attracted that extra fee, which had not been disclosed. And so we went back and had a conversation with them, and indeed, they did offer to tear up the old one and give us the money back and write a new one. And in the process of that, we were talking about what that money was for. There was a full disclosure of that part, at least, of the agreement. And so we decided we wanted to keep it the way it was. So we kept it the way it was. And we went on our way, and as you know, the truck was to pull a trailer, and we purchased the trailer, and we were looking for the loan for that. And we were driving down the road, and there was a financial institute along the way, and I was like, oh, that's where they wrote on the paper that we're getting the loan from, was there. Do you want to go back to there? Because we were headed to a specific place. And David said, I don't know, what do you think? And I said, well, just listen to divine intuition. Shall we keep going or turn around and go back to that one where we're getting the truck loan? And he said, you know what, let's keep going. Let's go in the direction that we had made our plans. So we did. Well, lo and behold, that is going to be the best place ever to get a loan. And we found out that they hold our truck loan. It wasn't the place that was written on the paper. We also found out a lot of other interesting information that was not accurate on the paperwork. But it's all gone through, so it's all good. Lessons learned. We are not that experience. And we can learn from those lessons to grow ourselves in a greater way. Everything that comes our way, if we open ourselves up to the learning found within it, it's valuable. So what are we looking at when we think about who we are? Because we're looking at what we're looking with. Whatever I am seeing in the world. We are not that experience, and we are attracting that experience. Too often, I think we spend time ruminating over the past experiences and allowing them to occupy that space between our ears that David just talked about. And the past is a place of learning. It's not a place of living. It's a point in time when we had an experience and we can grow into a greater understanding. David called it the larger life. Ernest Holmes has a book called The Larger Life, which is one of my favorite little white ones. And when we step into that larger life, we learn how to live because we learn how to think. We learn how to attract. And we're always learning how to attract better and better and better as we open up to our divine nature. So who we are, as Marianne Williamson said, is way beyond our wildest imagination, way beyond our expectations. We are the splendor of the natural universe. And I'm going to repeat this part again. Our personal beliefs about ourselves are powerful beyond measure and dictate our outcomes. They can work for us or against us, and we get to choose. I asked Dwayne to leave this up here because I wanted to share that last part once again because it fits so perfectly with the talk today. I'm looking for where I'm reading here. There. Deep pleasure, joy, and knowing secure my mind and delight my heart as daily revelations tell me who I really am. I accept healing as completely natural. Therefore, I have no need for suffering. And so it is.